So, I'm just going to read a letter. Here we go. Albert Pike letter to Mazzini. The Illuminati plan for 3 world wars, August 15, 1871. The following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871 regarding a conspiracy involving 3 world wars that were planned in an attempt to take over the world. The Pike letter to Mazzini was on display in the British Museum Library in London until 1977. This letter has been claimed by many internet sites to reside in the British Library in London, which denies the letter exists. I wonder why they might do that. Mazzini was an Italian revolutionary leader of the mid-1800s as well as the director of the Illuminati. And Pike, a historical Masonic figure, was a 33rd degree Freemason, occultist, Grand Master, and creator of the southern jurisdiction of the Masonic Scottish Rite Order. Also the author of Morals and Dogma, which is as close to Freemasonry's Bible as exists. Following are apparently extracts from the letter showing how 3 world wars have been planned for many generations. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Interesting. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Pike's biography. Sure, we'll read this. Pike was born in Boston, Massachusetts, son of Ben and Sarah Andrews Pike, and spent his childhood in Byfield and Newburyport, Massachusetts. His colonial ancestors included John Pike, the founder of Woolbridge, New Jersey. He attended school in Newburyport and Framingham until he was 15. In August 1825, he passed his entrance exams and was accepted at Harvard University. Though when the college requested payment of tuition fees for the first 2 years, he chose not to attend. He began a program of self-education, later becoming the school teacher in Gloucester, North Bedford, Fairhaven, and Newburyport. He eventually left Massachusetts to travel west, first stopping in St. Louis, and then moving on to Independence, Missouri. In Independence, he joined an expedition to New Mexico, hunting and trading. During the excursion, his horse broke and ran, forcing him to walk the remaining 500 miles to Taos. After this, he joined a trapping expedition in the Llano Estacado in New Mexico and Texas. Trapping was minimal, and after traveling about 1,300 miles, 650 on foot, he finally arrived at Fort Smith, Arkansas. Settling in Arkansas in 1833, he taught school and wrote a series of articles for the Little Rock Arkansas Advocate under the pen name of Casca. The articles were popular enough that he was asked to join the staff of the newspaper. Later, after marrying, he purchased part of the newspaper with the dowry. By 1835, he was the Advocate's sole owner. Under his administration, the Advocate promoted the viewpoint of the Whig Party in a political volatile and divided Arkansas. He was the first reporter for the Arkansas Supreme Court. He wrote a book published anonymously called the Arkansas Form Book, which was a guidebook for lawyers. He began to study law and was admitted to the bar, and sold his paper the same year. When the Mexican-American War started, he joined the Regiment of Arkansas Mounted Volunteers and was commissioned as a troop commander with the rank of captain. With his regiment, he fought in the Battle of Buena Vista. Pike was discharged in June 1847. He and his commander, Colonel John Selden Roan, had several differences of opinion. Finally led to an inconclusive duel between the two. Several shots were fired, nobody was injured, and the two were persuaded by their seconds to discontinue. After the war, he returned to the practice of law, moving to New Orleans for a time. He wrote another book, Maxims of the Roman Law, and some of the ancient French laws, expounded and applied in doctrine and jurisprudence. He penned the lyrics to Dixie to Arms in 1861 at the beginning of the war, the American Civil War, that is. Pike was appointed as a Confederate envoy to the Native Americans. In this capacity, he negotiated several treaties, one of the most important being with Cherokee Chief John Ross, which was concluded in 1861. At the time, Ross agreed to support the Confederacy, which promised the tribes a Native American state if it won the war. Ross later changed his mind and left Indian Territory, but the succeeding Cherokee government maintained the alliance. Pike was commissioned as a brigadier general on November 22, 1861, given command of Indian Territory. With General Ben McCulloch, Pike trained 3 Confederate regiments of Indian cavalry, most of whom belonged to the civilized tribes, whose loyalty to the Confederacy was variable. Although initially victorious at the Battle of Pea Ridge, Pike's unit was later defeated in a counterattack after falling into disarray. When Pike was ordered to send troops to Arkansas, he resigned in protest. As in the previous war, Pike came into conflict with his superior officers, at one time drafting a letter to Jefferson Davis complaining about his direct superior. After Pea Ridge, Pike was faced with charges that his Native American troops had scalped soldiers in the field. Major General Thomas C. Hinman also charged Pike with mishandling of money and material, ordering his arrest. Both these charges were later found to be lacking in evidence. Nevertheless, Pike, facing arrest, escaped into the hills of Arkansas, sending his resignation from the Confederate States Army on July 12th. He was at length arrested on charges of treason and insubordination. Briefly held, his resignation was accepted, and he was allowed to return to Arkansas. Pike first joined the Fraternal Independent Order of Oddfellows in 1840. He next joined a Masonic lodge, where he became extremely active in the affairs of the organization. In 1859, he was elected Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rites Southern Jurisdiction. He remained Sovereign Grand Commander for the remainder of his life. Total of 32 years, devoted a large amount of his time to developing the rituals of the order. Notably, he published a book called Morals and Dogma of the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in 1871, of which there were several subsequent editions. This helped the order grow during the 19th century. He also researched and wrote the seminal treatise Indo-Aryan Deities and Worship as contained in the Rig Veda. In America, Pike is still considered an eminent and influential Freemason, primarily in the Scottish Rite Southern Jurisdiction. He died in D.C. at age 81 and was buried. He wanted to be cremated, so his burial was against his wishes. His remains were moved to the House of the Temple, headquarters of the Southern Jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite. A memorial to Pike is located in the Judiciary Square neighborhood of Washington, D.C. He's the only Confederate military commander with an outdoor statue in Washington, D.C. And I believe that statue was at one point vandalized, and then President Trump decried the vandalization of statues after that point. Interesting. So, a couple notes here. He was also a Luciferian, as laid out in Morals and Dogma. It's crystal clear if you read that book. Basically the Bible of Freemasonry. It is a Luciferian secret society whose purpose is to help rebuild the Royal Arch. What is the Royal Arch? Well, it's a rebuilt Third Temple in Jerusalem. And this lines up very much with his description of the Third World War, which is going to be used to destroy political Islam and political Zionism at the same time, smashing them into each other. What do we have going on in Iran right now? That very thing, interestingly enough. The Order of Odd Fellows. So for a long time, as part of a church ministry, my parents and us kids would go to nursing homes in Maryland. One of them was Odd Fellows Nursing Home. I never realized that it was part of the Masonic system, I guess you could call it, a fraternal order. A lot of these fraternal orders are Masonic in nature, with their founders being Freemasons and so forth. What else? One thing that's interesting is that these Luciferians are very much in tune with, I guess you could call it the world spirit, the spirit of Antichrist that's in the world. And they're very much in tune with the plans of that satanic spirit that runs the world. And an example of this is H.G. Wells. And if you read his nonfiction trilogy, which is The Anticipations, The Open Conspiracy, and The New World Order, he lays out the plans for how they're going to get people, ordinary people, the public, on board with Luciferian mystery religion. And they're going to do it little by little by tearing down the other religious systems and so forth. And, these Luciferians, who really are studied and who have delved into it and who are attuned to the demonic powers, they have a fairly clear view, at least, of the plan of what the future is going to be. They are trying to orchestrate things, trying to bring things about, trying to move things in the direction that they want to see society go, ultimately in order to bring in this satanic New World Order, the one world order of the Antichrist, or the beast system as the Bible calls it. What else? Pike was also the founder of one of the iterations of the KKK. That wasn't mentioned in this document, but that is also the case. Kind of a jack of all trades, very accomplished guy, but not really a nice guy. And particularly his Third World War quote is very interesting. How that Islam and Zionism are going to be smashed together and mutually destroyed. And in the vacuum, at this point in time, people have already been disillusioned with Christianity. Heck, I'm a Christian and I'm disillusioned with Christianity. Christians are some of the most ignorant, backwards people that I have met, because they've been indoctrinated into a system of thinking. They don't study the scriptures for themselves. They don't think for themselves. They're led through the nose by false Christians. They're manipulated very easily into supporting things like political Zionism that don't align with the Bible whatsoever or with the teachings of Christ. To be honest, going to church, while there's a part of it that I really enjoy, worshiping God, the singing, the preaching of the word, there's a part of it that chafes me as well, because I go in there to Sunday school, in the young adult Sunday school, and the main topic of conversation is things like sports or races, or entertainment related stuff, and it's just not, the church is just not what the church should be. The ignorance, the backwardness, just a shadow of what the church used to be. We've lost so much power. There's things in the Bible we're supposed to be able to do: casting out demons, having powerful, efficacious prayer, and we've lost all those things. And there's no one left who really is able to teach how to do these things to the next generations, and it's just an appallingly sad state of affairs. So we've already seen that people are demoralized with Christianity. And in this vacuum, people, they need an authority. and they'll always look to an authority. And so Pike is proposing that in this vacuum they will raise up a Luciferian religious system, and that will be the authority, brought finally out in the public view. And, we're seeing this little by little in movies, TV shows, music, video games. Luciferian elements and Masonic elements are becoming more and more common. We're seeing more and more public people openly practicing elements of witchcraft, of divination, of Kabbalah, of Luciferian mystery religion. And we're seeing these exposés that these people are very powerful and well connected to the reins of power. The Epstein documents what we saw of them and understand that they have been thoroughly sanitized at this point in time. We're not really seeing the real meat of it, but even so, we can see glimpses of the true power behind the world. And I just thought I should read this particular quote I've been aware of for a while, and it is momentous and very thought-provoking. Hope you guys have found this to be interesting. Have a good one. Bye.